part 1, 2. Welcome to drawing the eyes demonstration. And then after this will be glasses. So obviously if you're not wearing glasses, you don't have to watch that one. But we want to get the eyes on there before drawing glasses. And I usually get eyes and nose, and then kind of try to draw the glasses. But a lot of times the glasses create the outline of the nose, so it depends. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to look for, and actually you will need your ruler, I apologize. So ruler, and then you need something to go underneath your hand at all times. Okay, his head is slightly tilted, like this eye is slightly higher than this eye. This nostril slightly higher. His mouth is kind of just at a weird angle in general because of he's being a goofball. So what I'm going to look for is the two corners. So his corner lines up in 4C. 4C. Okay. 4C. Double checking. All right, so it's right about on the line. So here's the halfway point. It's a little bit after. So there's the outside corner of the eye, that little dot right there. Then I'm going to do the other eye, which lines up in 4F. 4F. And, okay, so we got the halfway mark, a little bit in, and it's a little bit below halfway. It's not a point, so I'm going to put like a little bit of a line. Okay, so notice, try to get my paper straight for you. Okay, there we go. Notice that his eyes are at a little bit of a slant, so super gently, I'm going to make that guideline. Super gently. So this was the two outside corners of the eyes. Then I'm going to do that for the nose and mouth, just to double check to make sure it's parallel before starting to draw. So I'm going to do a little guideline for that nostril, and his nose dips down, so I'm not so concerned with that part. I just want the angle of how the nostrils are. Okay, so that's in 6E. 6E. Okay, it's the very top edge of 6E. Okay, then I'm going to go to the other nostril, and that is in 6D. And that's a little bit halfway. So he does have a slight, well, and it comes down a little bit here too. So a slight angle, super light. Don't press very hard. And if you're not smiling, this is a whole lot easier. I'm gonna go the corner of the mouth here, like where the actual two lips meet. Double checking to what I'm looking at is what it is. Okay, 7E, 7E. Say a little bit like half of halfway, and a little bit over from halfway. Okay, that's where the two lips meet, that little dot. Then I'm going to do over here, I'm going to have to guesstimate over here because I really can't see a crease. But it's a little bit below halfway, and we're in C7. 7C. Halfway, a little bit below. The curve of the mouth. And so that also we give ourselves an angle. So I'm just making sure, well, and like this eye kind of points down. So it's about the same. Should be about the same. Parallel, parallel, parallel. Okay, so I'm gonna draw the easy eye first, and then I'll draw the hard eye. And then the next one I'm gonna show is like, what if you're looking in a different direction? So I'll show how to draw her eye and eyebrow as well. I'll just do one of them because once you see one, like you could easily draw the other one. But since he has like a front view eye kind of and a side view eye, I'm going to draw both of his eyes for you. Let me zoom in. And have it not look weird. Okay. Get the ruler out of the way. Okay, something underneath my hand. All right, so I'm going to do this left eye first. So I have that point. Then I'm going to do another little point in the inside where the interior corner is. So I would lift up your grid and take a look at your eyes and notice how like his interior corner is curved. That one's curved too. Okay. Her interior corner is pointy, but it's curved on the outside. And it's a little bit more curved here, but still kind of pointing down. Definitely curved on that side. Her eyes curved, but kind of curved like in, kind of like swoosh up a little bit, and then pointy outside corners. I also look at where's the height of the curve. So because her face is looking, oh, I'm so sorry. I wish you guys were here so you could yell at me that you can't see it. You can't see the screen. Hers are pointy, kind of curving in, and pointy on the edges. Okay, hopefully you saw the Charlotte one. Hers are definitely pointy in the inside, but curved on the outside, and a little more curved in the inside. So if she's looking, she's looking pretty like straightforward. Her eyes are not, but her face is. So therefore the curve of her eyeball pretty much is in the center, but the curve of her lower lid is a little bit to the left. She's looking away, so therefore the curve on this right eye, because it's curved in the direction that the eyeball is pointing, so her eye's looking to the right, so therefore the curvature is more on the right hand side. This one, it still kind of angles up into the right hand side a little bit. So I look at where is the height of the curve. And for hers, just because the way her eye is, it's slightly curved more to the left of the center. And then that is just like a true almond shape where it's not really totally curved at all. So you want to take a look at where is it curved the most. And so this is a different one of the same girl looking away. So since she's looking to the left, in this one, her eye's more curved on the left-hand side of the eye. And it's far more curved on the left-hand side of the eye there. Okay. So if you get your eyes right, it usually looks like you. And then we need them to be pretty accurate so that we can base everything else off of them. So you can always, if you're like, oh, my eyes are like hers, well, then you can fast forward to those. But if you have two eyes that are slightly different from each other, the way your face is angled, then you might want to watch. Okay. So I am in 4D. 4D. All right. I'm going to say a little bit over from halfway. And his tear duct is curved. And I'm looking at, here's halfway, half of halfway. And between that is the top of his eyelid, like where the lashes are. And then his eyelid hits like a little bit below halfway. Looking to the other side. Okay, and then I'm looking at how it kind of just slopes and angles down. So I'll give myself a little guideline for that. Slopes and angles down. And I'm looking at how I can see the bottom of his eye, like below the grid slightly. A little bit more curved here. And then it kind of just curves in there. Okay. So, oh yeah, all right. So I feel like his tear duct does need to come out slightly. Actually, it kind of curves out a little bit here. And then that's more of like where the eyeball ends. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna follow my guidelines. His height of his curve is more in the inside, the right inside of the eye. It kind of slopes a little bit more. his upper eyelid, because I need to have space for the lash line too. So the upper eyelid I'm going to draw just slightly larger, knowing that some of that space is going to be taken up by eyelashes. So looking how his eyelid is pretty much the same thickness until you get to the inside corner where it narrows. Get rid of that guideline. Okay, the bottom of his eye, rounded on this side, and dips down and kind of tucks up. Probably a little more rounded. Still feel like this needs to come over a little bit. I feel like it needs to curve a little bit past that line. Okay, there we go. Just a slight tweak, slight slide over. So then I look at, can I see water lines? So his water line is dark. I can't see it at all. Can I see hers? No, hers are dark. But for hers, you can see, I don't want to get it to be flat. You can see that it's a little bit of a lighter water line, so I'd actually outline that part. Like over here, I can see the whole thing. I wish these cameras would zoom in better. But for him, I can't see a water line. But I can see where the edge of his eyeball ends. And then there's like shadow between like where the tear duct, where all the goopy stuff kind of sinks into the eye. Okay, so now I'm going to do the bottom crease. And it kind of comes up and it comes down. And then we'll do eyebrows and we'll add glasses in the next one. Okay, so now you're ready for the color part of the eye, or the iris. And the eyeball is circular, but the way you're looking changes the shape of the iris. So it's a circle at an angle called an ellipse, or an oval. So her iris is much more oval shaped. And notice how her eyelid kind of cuts it off a little bit. In this view, the irises are circular, but the eyelid is kind of cutting it off. So I would kind of like draw that circle and then just erase whatever, you know, goes into the eyelid part, which I'll show that one in a minute. So if your eyes are more like hers, that demonstration will be next. For Daniel, I cannot see the bottom of his iris, but I can see the sides. So the sides like kind of touch, almost touch the grid line. And then I look at how much of the white corners of the eyes can I see. Just a little bit on this side. And what's the curvature at the top? And so if I were to draw like an actual circle, I would say like, yeah, it's circular in there, but I'm just gonna erase where the skin kind of cuts it off. Okay, so if you can play around with filters on your phone or filters on your computer and get a lighter version of your picture, you might be able to see where your pupils are. For him, I can actually see the pupil on one of them. But the pupil is in the center of the circle of the iris, or ellipse of the iris. And he's looking pretty straight on, so his pupil is going to be round. So I'm going to say it's circular here, or this is the center. I'm going to put his iris in, and then he does have that little speck of light. And that little speck of light, hold on, let me show you. Like right there, is always on the edge of the pupil. So over here, that kind of tells us where the pupil is, but it's always on the edge of the pupil. Because your pupil is a hole, it's catching some light on the edge of the hole of your pupil. So if you can't see them, look in the mirror, you can draw them in. You might be able to fit or put a filter onto your image so you can kind of see it a little bit better. All right, for the eye over here, I have to be a little more careful because he definitely has glasses like kind of in the way. So that edge, and so I am going to draw the edge of the glasses a little bit because it is the edge of his eye. So in 4E, 4E. Let's see, let's do halfway marks. Half of halfway because this eye is a little bit more difficult. Okay, so I'm looking at how far over does that curvature go? Between half of halfway and halfway, so like here. Okay, then I'm looking at where does the eye pass through the grid? Like halfway. Pretty much halfway, all right. Because that's the highest curve of his eye right there. So then it kind of curves down to my mark and curves, and his just happens to be right on this grid line, which is sometimes good. And if it looks weird, you might have to flip it up and look at the quality of the line. So I feel like this needs to come down slightly. So I feel like this curves down a little bit more. So the lash line kind of overlaps there. So that bottom one kind of tucks in. Okay, so this eyelid, you can kind of see a little bit. I think the glasses are covering some of it up. And it like curves and attaches on this outside corner. Then he does have like the lower lid curvature. All right, ready for the iris. The color part of the eye, so it comes a little bit past here. And I'm looking at like how much above the actual iris part can I see where it tucks into the skin. And can I see? No. So I cannot see this inside corner, but for the sake of drawing, I'm going to go ahead and try to draw the edge of it. And I'm going to kind of draw the circle. I'm going to erase what I don't need to try to get that curvature. Okay, so his pupil was like a little bit low in this eye, so I would do the same. And then he has a little speck of light on that side. So I usually make the little specks of light a little bit bigger than I need, just in case. All right, so for eyebrows, you're not going to color anything in. Do not shade anything in. So this one kind of comes up about halfway, starts to curve over, and comes up, and then starts to curve down right along the edge. So the width of it, I'm going to get the width or thickness to it, and then it just kind of has little hairs that kind of fade in. So that's all you want, is like an outline of the eyebrows, and his are fairly light. So I'll show you the next one where hers are a little bit darker and more defined. Okay, so I'm looking, eyebrows come over, let's see, about a little past halfway. Okay, below the grid lines, curves and passes through here. The height of the curve is here, and it slopes down there. So I kind of gave myself a couple of guidelines to guide the shape. And we'll probably we'll perfect them when we shade, but also like if you're gonna have glasses, then if they overlap your brows, then you're just gonna kind of give yourself some guidelines. So again, I'm not really shading them in, just giving them their shape or form. That comes down a little bit lower. Okay. So if that's good enough for your eyes, notice that I did not draw the eyelashes. We will put those on last. Do not shade anything yet. Do not draw the eyelashes. Don't fill in the eyebrows. Just leave it like that. Okay, so I'm just going to draw one of her eyes. I'm going to draw the right eye, and then you'll see the next one. You don't need to see me do both. They're both very similar. They're just slightly angled. So her face is slightly tilted actually. So again, I'm going to go through that same process, outside corner. So it's like half of halfway down, half of halfway up. And I'm in box 5C, 5C. Okay. Half of halfway. Half of halfway. Okay. So there's that corner. And then actually I'm going to do her inside because her eyes actually, the points kind of slant. So I'm going to do that eye. So I have the angle of that one eye. And then I'll do the next one, which is in 5E. 5E. Very below that. Okay. And the curvature is like on this corner. So I have the slant with those eyes. But in general, then I have that slight slant from corner to corner. But I did do the slant of each one because hers are, because her tear duct points down and in, it makes it look slightly slanted. I mean, it is slightly slanted. Okay, so for nostril, go over here, and then that happens to be on that edge. So notice how her nose is slightly slanted. Okay, corner of the mouth, and we're going to adjust this. We'll make sure it's in the right spot. And then a little bit lower, and the corner of her mouth kind of slightly tilts. So we want to make sure it's like parallel, parallel, parallel before starting. All right, so since I already have my guideline here, I'm going to, and hers is a lot harder because like her eye really doesn't pass through a lot on the grid. I don't have a lot of grid lines to use. So look at where the height of the curve is. Okay, it is just below halfway, just past halfway. So a little bit past halfway, just below halfway. So there's a curvature of her eye. It lines up like half of halfway here and continues down there. And it definitely slopes. I'll put that slope. All right, below that line, the height of the curve is between halfway and half of halfway. And it's probably just a little bit down. Okay, and it actually, I can see it come up like here and up to there. Okay, a bunch of guidelines. So then if it's easier to flip the grid up and look at it, like for me, sometimes once I have all those guidelines in place, it's easier to just look at the contour outline. It slightly comes up a little bit where the tear duct is. Okay, tucks in. Okay, so I'm gonna erase out, clean it up a little bit. Okay, so for her makeup, I would kind of outline, let me see how far that wing comes over. Not quite halfway. Probably here is about where that wing. So I am going to kind of put that in there just so I have it for like the thickness of like the lashes. I drew the thickness of the eyeliner over here. It's more just on the outside corner. Although I feel like that looks a little too pointy. Let me bring that down a little bit. Okay, that's way better. Okay, so then I'm looking at her iris. Actually, I'm going to put in, I can see the edge of her eyeball here. And there's like her ear duct in there. So her iris, I'm going to give myself little guidelines on the for the edges of it. Okay, let's try to like. See, it's like here, here, and it pretty much like touches that line. So but I'm going to draw a circle anyway. that I would erase where the skin covers. I'm also looking at how much white of the eye can I see below. Okay. So I can tell she has like 2 little dots of light, so her pupil's like in between that. So looking very carefully, because she's looking up, her pupil is going to be a little bit higher. And I usually make the specks of light a little bit bigger than they need to be, because you have to go around them the whole time. Okay, eyelid. It's pretty thin. And I can see it go like into that cat eye. Okay, so while I'm here, I'd probably put in a little bit of a guideline for the curvature. How low does that go? A little bit above halfway. That's what I think. Like the curvature of her lower lid. Okay, then for eyebrows, because her eyebrows are more defined, definitely groomed. Okay, so looking, kind of starts like along the edge, but comes below the grid line, and it hits right here, and then it curves down to almost halfway. And it lines up with the edge of her makeup right here. Okay, so then passes right on the grid, and then it slopes down. So notice how I didn't add her lashes in there. Like I can kind of see them. They're like a little bit short, but I can see them in there. So I didn't add any lashes, but I did kind of outline where her makeup was going to be, just for shading purposes later. I double checked like how much white eye or white eyeball I could see around. Where does the iris line up with? And the pupil should be like in the middle if you're looking straight forward. Now, if I were to do this one, notice how her iris is like a total oval or an ellipse. So her pupil is going to be like a tiny oval as well. So even here, it's oval, and it would be an oval as well. So if you're looking away from the camera, if your iris is not round, your pupil's not round. And if you're looking away, the height of the curve of the eye is at the direction that you're looking. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that makes it a little bit easier. The next demonstration is going to be glasses. I'll see you in the next video.